Welcome to the Clause YouTube channel.
Together, we strive for a safer, secure, and more stable world.
Good evening and welcome to Jaipur Military Voices, the second podcast from Jaipur under the aegis of laws. And welcome to Brigadier Singh Bainsla. Today's topic is very interesting. We'll be covering most of our neighboring countries, the countries with whom we have borders, later on, subsequently, countries which are close by to us. Today is Nepal. Nepal has been historically very close to India, and prior to independence also. History of Nepal depicts that most of the Nepalese they had migrated or they gone from India. Uh, Nepal have been historically connected to us for a very long historical time, and most of the Nepalese have been originally from India. Like Limbus went from Varanasi, and Chetris and Ranas went from Udaipur. There's a long history of that. And beside that, culturally, socially, and religiously, India and Nepal have been deep rootedly connected. One incident which I want to narrate here before we go on to the actual discussions, that in 1947, when 15th August 1947, when we got independence, all Gurkha regiments were officered by Britishers, and they were given option to join Indian Army or British Army. It is there on record that 100% Gurkha battalions opted for Indian Army. It was a shock to the British officers and particularly their leadership, who were Gurkha officers like Field Marshal Slim was six Gurkhas. They came to the units and they tried to convince them to join British Army. So out of the 10 regiments which were there, first Gurkha remained with us, second went to British Army, third with Indian Army, fourth with Indian Army, fifth with Indian Army, sixth Field Marshal Singh went to British Army, seventh went to British Army, eighth with Indian Army, ninth with Indian Army, 10th went to British Army. So in a nutshell, that was the reason why it was there. And why I'm narrating this is because my father was posted to take over from the Britishers as a captain, and he was posted to 2nd, 3rd Gurkha Rifles in December 1947. He joined that. So this is from the horse's mouth. With that, the dynamics with Nepal have been that we have been having a very, I would say, an open border system where anyone would walk in other side. And slowly, things have gone a little bit strict due to the security reasons. Nepal is geographically located in a place where it has importance for us, being strategically, security-wise, and yes, it is something like um, a buffer between us and China. So the implications have grown over a period of time. We have been having recruitment from Nepal in our Indian Army, and they have proven their worth in every battle and every operation which had taken place since 1947. And even coming times, the I would that the influence of China have been taking place, and that's where it becomes very imperative for us to look at Nepal from a totally a different angle. Economically, I was in Nepal shortly, couple of days back. Economically, and I would say the import-export thing which are there, anything from Nepal coming to India was there was no or hardly any excise duty on the items which come from Nepal. And Nepalese have been part of our system, not only the army but also the civil and other offices in our country. They've been part of us, and today also, when you look at it, the loyalty of Nepal probably in my mind is more with India than with China. This issue I have seen on ground. With this as a backdrop, I would like to ask, I would say, a question which is there for Brigadier Bainsla, and we'll start from the critical issues which have been there. Uh, Can you tell us, some light on a tri-party agreement which was there with India and Nepal and British? Later on, it came to us, and what were the provisions broadly, the provision and how far we have been implementing that? Over to Brigadier Bainsla.
Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for inviting and giving me an opportunity to speak to you on this forum. Basically, the tripartite agreement, we have had two tripartite agreements with Nepal. One was in 1947 and the other in 2024. So in 1947, basically the agreement was between Britain, India and Nepal. And it primarily concerned the recruitment, uh, payment, and even the pension, looking after the pension of the of the Nepalese soldiers who would be recruited in the Indian Army, and they would be treated at par with the Indian soldiers. So that was the agreement with them. It and in if you're talking about 2024 tripartite agreement, that is between India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. So that is primarily focusing on the surplus hydroelectricity that
Oh,
Nepal.
have you seen? I have already got paid.
That Nepal is selling to Bangladesh, and basically during the monsoon season, and how India comes in between is the transmission of this power to Bangladesh through India, which will be earning whatever is there in the agreement. Thank you, sir.
Brigadier Bainsla, slightly your voice is echoing, so you can look, maybe come closer to the mic with you. Otherwise,
Okay,
it is
sir.
okay.
Uh,
If you can
how's
help
it
it
now,
out.
sir? Yeah. How's
It's
it now?
okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. So basically, what I had said was basically the 1947 tripartite agreement was between the Britishers, India, and Nepal, primarily for recruiting Nepalese soldiers in the Indian Army at par with the Indian soldiers. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Brigadier Bainsla. I think that was the start point wherein our relationship, particularly related to the military affairs, was based on the tri-party agreement, and which have been explained by Brigadier Bainsla. A word about Brigadier Bainsla: he is from 9 Gurkhas, and his son is also serving in the same battalion. So that is additional that he is still in half service because he is finally not retired, and he has been a very credentials have been there where he served with Gurkhas and Gurkha Training Center he commanded. Now, welcome General Sudhakar Jee, sir. And I would like you to address, since 1947, um, our relationship with Nepal, with focus on relationships in neighboring countries, and overall, what do you think is a suggestion to have a, I would say, with the evolving, like recently we had a visit of our foreign secretary to Nepal, and likely visit of the Prime Minister of Nepal to India is scheduled. So, what do you think that how it is going to go through, and what is the importance strategically between India and Nepal relationship? Over to you, sir. Can you hear me, sir? I think your voice is not coming, sir. I think you are unmuted probably. So please check.
Am I audible? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes, you are audible now, sir. You are audible, sir. Sir.
Okay, Virendra, there is something happening when Brigadier. Yeah, I can hear you now, but beach mein na wo-
Your voice is not coming, sir.
Okay, okay. Am I
Now,
audible now?
you are audible now. Yes, sir. You're audible. Again, it is gone off, sir.
Anyway, good evening, gentlemen. Once again, the voice is not coming.
Between it is now it is clear, sir. Maybe you will have to check that, sir.
Yeah, yeah, you are in the show.
It is,
क्या
yes, we can hear you now. Yes. sir.
Okay. Now it's a very interesting topic. Nepal, our northern border, northern neighbor, um, so-called. It is the Hindu kingdom. We have open border policy. We have very. Why is it? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. You're audible.
Okay. Okay. Now, so the Foreign Secretary of India had just paid a visit, and to my best of understanding, it was basically a kind of a precursor to the Honorable Prime Minister of Nepal coming on a visit to India, Mr. Oili. And also, if I recall and respect my memory, last year around same time, maybe a month up and down, our foreign secretary had paid another visit to Nepal as well. So these are all periodic visits. But the moot question which comes up is, why is India losing out the immediate neighborhood? Maldives. Thank God we are gradually, incrementally trying to restore status quo ante. And we are not saying, I'm not saying we are dominating, but we are having some say in the security paradigm as far as Maldives is concerned. Sri Lanka today or yesterday in the news, the previous president, I believe, has been arrested. So that is going to open up a can of worms. Bangladesh, we know what it is today. Bhutan, you see, the P5, none of the P5s have been allowed by Bhutan to have a diplomatic mission on the soil of Bhutan. There are serious reasons as to why Bhutan doesn't allow. But look at the paradigm, what has happened in Kunming on 19th of July, if I recall correctly. There was a meeting of Foreign Secretary of Bangladesh, additional Foreign Secretary of Bangladesh, Pakistan, and China. They gave it the camouflage of a kind of a economic developmental perspective. But then what more is left if 81% of military hardware of Pakistan and 82% of military hardware of Bangladesh are being imported from China, and you have 62 billion invested for CPEC there towards Pakistan side, 38 billion towards Bangladesh, out of which 20 billion have been committed. Padma Bridge, railway line, ports, hydel power stations, etc., have been built and developed by China. Now, Lal Munir Hat airfield, Second World War airfield is being reactivated. Contract is being given to somebody from Pakistan by China. And if you have Doklam or the Jhamveri Ridge being dominated by the footprint or the signature of PLA, then Gelefu Mindfulness City is coming up. Gelefu is a place which is 340 kilometers away from Guwahati, 55 kilometers from Bogaigaon, 240 kilometers from Siliguri. So that is the place where thousands of crores of rupees are going to be invested. A special economic zone is going to come up between Bhutan, the border of Bhutan and India. And you have another place called as Damak. Damak is a place in the Jaffa district. This is Mr. Oili's constituency. Damak is a place where you have a SEZ coming up with 491 industries. Majority are being from China. So it's about 55 kilometers from Siliguri. So, and Lal Molin Hat, Damak there, Gelefu there, and you have Jhampere Ridge. So you can well imagine the sensitivity rising as far as the Siliguri corridor is concerned. And coming back to Nepal, it has a border of in multiple sources. You will find 1590 kilometers, but actually it is 1701 kilometer border with India, and it has got border with five provinces, five states of India, and there is a roughly 1400 some kilometers with China. But what has happened in past 15 to 20 years? China has managed to penetrate into the culture and the way of life of Nepal. The border despite all resistance from the Nepalese, they managed to bulldoze their way through and disregarded the existing alignment of the border between Nepal and China. They have got 33 or more than 33 Chinese cultural centers. Similarly, they have many, in the name of civil GAV, there are many institutes and centers coming up. They are employing Chinese women to learn Chinese. And these cultural centers are coming up along the border with India. More than that, along the border with Nepal border with India, you have the non-government organizations of Turkey who are sponsoring money. This needs to be investigated. I hope I am wrong in what I am saying, but this is from my open source study. There are Al Qaeda's presence, ISIS presence along the border. So, how does it not affect the security imperative of India? We have an open border system. On top of it, when the Tanakpur road was being inaugurated, that is Dharchula to Jipti Road and Mansarovar, that axis, by our Honorable Defense Minister, I think 2022 or so. That year, there was a hangama in the Parliament of Nepal with regard to Lipuadharia. And Lipuadharia or Lipule, we all know right since 1962. 1962 is the war which we fought with China. And ever since then, ITBP has been there where it is today. To actually fabricate a story and to have a new map posted on the currency note, these are all very dangerous signs of vitiating the good relationship that one expects to have with the neighbor. So, having given this broad outline, are we failing as far as the neighborhood is concerned? Did India ever had a kind of a neighborhood foreign policy? What kind of policy did we have? My take on the whole issue, Birendra, is that yes, we can Google up and study any amount of literature. Being a student of geopolitics, my take on the whole issue is that perhaps India did not have enough to start with. Perhaps we did not carry it out. There is an old saying: if you know yourself, half the battle is won. If you know the enemy, then the full battle is won. So I think to large an extent, India did not know. We are in a deep slumber. Where we stood, what was your strength and the weaknesses, and look at the back-to-back kind of events. This galvanizing 565 princely states together, bringing them to one common platform under one constitution, and making a nation state as India was itself a big challenge. And to top it, you had the partition, you had the 47-48 conflict, you had the matter going up to UN resolution, that is hanging fire. Then you had 65 ops, then you had 1971. Thereafter, the K2 desk opened up in ISI. K2 is Khalistan and Kashmir. And then the Kashmir problem. Then the Kargil took place. After Kargil, the ongoing insurgency is going on, revival of proxy war. And Galwan incident, before that Doklam took place. So, where is the reprieve or the breather India has had so far? Despite all challenges, I'm saying I was in another panel discussion. People, their youth of our country feel very defensive about themselves. They feel very, I don't know why do they underestimate themselves? I said, despite all challenges, India has stood up. I was abroad, I was not here in the country because of during Operation Sindoor, but I must say, the kind of reading and research I have done, I'm convinced that this was the best kind of military warfare that any country could have done in 4 days. Bringing enemy onto the knees within 4 days. Your strategic doctrine has undergone change from restraint to a kind of a reciprocal risk. And from this cannot be achieved until you actually dominate the escalatory matrix. Domination of escalatory matrix comes about when your deterrence changes from deterrence of deniability to deterrence of punishment. And that act of terror will be treated as act of war is a one-liner message to the whole world. It has shaken up anyone and everyone who has understood the meaning. Those who understand, you don't have to explain. Those who don't understand, you got to explain. The behavior of America today, Donald Trump, if at all it is gone berserk, from 9th of May 2025, it is because of these 2-3 things which happened in quick succession of time frame. J.D. Vance giving a call to Honorable Prime Minister that Pakistan is going to launch a massive attack. Prime Minister tells him that if they launch a massive attack, we are going to come back very heavily. And then what happens? The cabinet note is issued out. An act of terror will be act of war. And soon after that, Pakistan had planned for the massive attack around 4 o'clock in the morning next day. But before that, we had preempted, we had hit the air bases. Why am I bringing out this? I'm bringing out this is because there is a global conspiracy to make sure that India doesn't grow the way it is growing. In the last 5 years, G20 members, if you tabulate the data of the GDP of the economies of the 20 plus the African Union, you'll find India is the only country which is standing out. Shining spot, the brightest spot in the world, 6.5% of rate of GDP growth amongst all the G20 countries. Doesn't it speak volumes? So there is that Thucydides trap. A rising power will never be allowed to come up to the footing of an established power is coming into visible spectrum. So having said this, Nepal, although it was never part of India, let me clarify. But it was not away from India because culturally we are so integrated. We are part and parcel of each other. Our way of life is something very unique in the world. So they say Pashupati to Puttaparthi or whatever, the Tirupati, all of them, they have got some kind of a linkages. So what it brings to me is that there is the elephant in the room. Earlier was China, even now also China. And the elephant in the room is not contesting against India. India is not the target of China. China is looking at 2049 to rejuvenate itself or the Middle Kingdom concept and become a global power with unstated or stated aim of posing a challenge to the superpower that is USA. And also in doing that, they would be redeeming the century of humiliation. That century of humiliation has actually humiliated the country. That became a kind of a nationalistic batting factor. So in order to achieve all this, it is going bonkers, it is going left, right and center to predominate its dominance and carry out strategic encirclement. People may dismiss this idea, nothing is happening. Well, if you want to underestimate your enemy, it is your take. My way of looking at things is to prepare our country for the worst of eventuality, so that the second Pelgam doesn't take place, so that the second Galwan doesn't take place. We need to be proactive in our approach. We need to have that anticipation or the visionary approach to everything. We should be able to visualize what is coming next and prepare our country from all dimensions. Nepal is one of the countries. It is culturally, we are so integrated. Nepal's people come and stay. They do Naukri here in India. We have that freedom of movement. And at one point in time, I was surprised. I was reading a book day before yesterday. 633 million of their trading activity, 60 to 70% used to be with India. USA had just about 10%. Now it has gone down. We have gone through the ups and downs of 2015. I do not want to recount those. But the hallmark of any successful rising power like India lies in identifying those pitfalls or fault lines so as to prevent recurrence of what has happened in the past and adopt a very progressive, forward-looking roadmap as far as the neighborhood is concerned. That time came. It came in 2008. And we call it as first neighborhood policy. Many of us don't understand the meaning of what is the meaning of neighborhood first policy. Neighborhood first policy means actually, I would say to large an extent, that we need to treat them and take them as part and parcel of our India, our integral component of India. Look after them from all spheres. Have to have a footprint and presence. But does India have so much of wealth? You have a country called Bhutan, almost to the tune of 4,500 to close to 5,000 crores are given out in the 5-year plan. Okay, similarly, you have countries like Nepal, we have been rolling out small amount, but much more needs to be done. Dependency is one of the factors in international relationship. You factor it and use it to your advantage. But dependency alone actually cannot happen. Interconnectivity. We have from Raxol to going up to, there is a pipeline which has been connected. There is a railway line which is going across the border. There are checkposts which have come up. But that is not enough. What is the counter and solution to 33 cultural centers of China which have come up in Nepal, which are not doing anything cultural but doing everything Chinese? It is a cynicism which is being practiced there in Nepal today. To say that it will not spread or expand its sphere of influence further south towards India is actually, making you think that we are as if cats, drinking milk. So there are dangerous portents which are taking place. We need to be mindful of all this, and therefore I would recommend from my side, keeping in view the time being at premium, we need to adopt a short, medium, and long-term approach. In that, we have to have multiple levels. There is no, because the democratic system of Nepal is undergoing so many changes, so many unpredictable changes, that we need to engage with anyone and everyone. Let it not happen like Maldives, that you engage with the favorable party and we don't talk to the party which is pro-Chinese. We need to engage with even with the enemies. If you can engage with non-state actors, why not with the state actors in Nepal? One. Number two, we have to see as to what more can be done. We are doing joint training. We have lots of adventure activities. We have education facilities. We have scholarships given to the students. We have certain percentage of jobs being given to the ex-servicemen also. We have the soldiers are also serving in the army today. Although the Agniveer has come, it will have a different perspective and dimension. But what more can be done? Can something be done to help or assist Nepal so that the penetration of Chinese, which is taking place, the railway line is coming from Sigatse, coming right up to your Chumbi Valley, that is Yatung side. There is another one, if I remember correctly, it is Kanar place on the borders of Nepal. The railway line is coming up to that point. There is a national highway connecting that to right up to the capital, Kathmandu. So all such, the kind of money which has been invested by China in past 10 to 15 years under the name of BRI is phenomenal. So how do you contain, counter and contest? Does India have deep pockets? No, it doesn't have. So what best can be done? The best thing to do is to collaborate with the people or the countries, like-minded countries. It is happening. The USA has pulled in some money. It is investing there. Japan is coming in a big way. We are coming in, like Bangladesh, Russia is already pumping in money. But is that enough? I don't think it is enough. So therefore, we need to think out of the box, find some practical and workable solution which will play up in favor of India. And at the moment, I don't have any ready-made answers. We need to do soul searching, deep research onto the issue, carry out scenario building, and have some kind of a war gaming or gaming theory to be applied. Then maybe we come out with some solutions as to how best we can handle Nepal, because the day is not far when, like the way we heard in Maldives, as also Bangladesh, India out campaign may be undertaken very soon. We need to be prepared for these eventualities. Back to you, Virendra.
Thank you, sir. I was in Nepal a couple of days back, and certain things which had come to my discussion with the people whom I met there. They were civilians and industrialists, Indian industrialists running industry there. One issue which came up very prominently, like we keep on discussing the influence of China and China pumping in money and the trade with China. one of the person, very prominent person there, he brought out that Chinese are taking all tenders for development, like making airports, roads, other things, and they bid the lowest bid in that. But all these tenders are never completed. Where it's supposed to take 2 years, it takes 5 years. Case in point is airport at Bhairwas at Lumni, and yet to be functional. So he was saying that they are trying to they invest, but they delay the progress of Nepal. This is one issue which was very prominently discussed. I also went around and saw that this is one of the reasons which is it comes out very um, outrightly. So in that, the requirement which is there is what General Sudhakar Jee has said, that our economic policy towards Nepal needs a relook. Relook in the sense that we have to go out of our way and compare and what all we are investing in our other countries. There's a requirement that we also invest in Nepal. I've been advocating that there's a requirement which wherein if we make a single chart of a slide wherein we put how much money we are spending or giving to the neighboring countries and where does Nepal stand in that. Out of that, the serving people who are there in Gurkhas around 50,000, around 2 lakh. We have ex-servicemen. That is their salary pension is beside the issue. Other thing which comes up is what is our hold on Nepal besides the cultural and a religious and other inputs what we have, and Bahu Beti, that relationship which we talk. The most important thing today in Nepal is we have 2 lakh ex-servicemen and 50,000, around 50,000 serving soldiers. Now, these many 2.5 lakh families are there. It is surprising, and after traveling widely in Nepal, one has come to see that every Nepalese soldier, whether he's ex-serviceman or serviceman, is putting our regimental crest on his house with a Shok emblem on that, and he's not afraid of that. So that is one issue which needs to be seen in a very proper light. We got 24 district soldier boards. Maybe must have increased by now. Another offices what we have at Kathmandu, Pokhara, and at Dharan. So there's a connectivity to Nepal is there. That is the inner thread that needs to be looked after very well and should be fed in a good way. The aspect of Agniveer, I'll request Brigadier Bainsla to cover up. And with that, I think Brigadier Bainsla, I want your views on the way forward with Nepal, encompassing all aspects which are the economic, and one aspect of Agniveer is there. So please express what is required to be done in future to have more streamlining our relationship with Nepal. Over to you, Brigadier Bainsla.
Thank you, sir. First, to deal with Agniveer, now we have seen traditionally, historically, that how loyal and brave the soldiers have been of Nepal, and traditionally they have been with us. So, my recommendation would be that the Indian government needs to tweak this Agniveer recruitment and make it little specific to Nepal and get these people on board. Because if you fail in that, probably China and other countries are looking at it, and they may give a kind of employment to the soldiers. So we must find a way out and get the Agniveer started for the Nepal domicile Gurkhas. That is first. Second is way forward, sir. Most of it uh, General Sudhakar Jee has already touched. But I would like to touch on few aspects. That is, one was what General Brigadier Birendra was mentioning about the ESM. Now we have interacted with them, and this is a big lobby, that we have, and the force which we have with us, and they are with us. We must kind of utilize them, utilize this manpower which is available with us to lobby in our favor. One, two. Though India does not have deep pockets, but we need to invest substantial amount in Nepal to counter the Chinese, construction and the other thing that the Chinese are going about. And of course, the feeling of a big brother that Nepal always feels, that India is big brother. We must have a kind of a leverage with them and make them feel that they are equal to us. The traditionally the roti beti concept, we always talk about that. It is still live. So we must give them the reassurance that yes, India is with you in all aspects, and will carry them. And the trade, of course, Nepal is the biggest trading. Their biggest trading partner is India. So all these issues, if we look into it, and the last visit of the Prime Minister in 22 has had substantial, boosted the relations. So this will go a long way in the future relations with Nepal.
Thank you, Brigadier Bainsla. General Sudhakar Jee, sir, I want your last comments on, very briefly, the way forward encompassing the Agniveer and relationship with Nepal. After that, we'll take the lot of questions in the comments, and those most of them are we'll cover up 2-3 questions at a time. So, can you please final outcome of what is the way forward, particularly with Agniveer? Jan Sudhakar Ji, sir.
Agniveer is a catch-22 kind of a thing, and personally speaking, I have not been in agreement with this concept. But enough water has flown down the Ganges. There's no point breaking your head against something which has already been predetermined, decided for good, bad reason, whatever it may be. It has to be accepted. But with regard to Nepal, uh, because if you continue to apply Agniveer, China is already doing it, by the way. Brigadier Bainsla is brought out a point. China, if I respect my memory, has already grabbed the opportunity. It is luring Nepal to encourage its troops, youth, to be employed in PLA. PLA is going through a very critical phase because of one child policy. They do not have enough number of youth to join armed forces. People don't want to join armed forces in PLA, by the way. So Nepal, if you carry out research, I'm sure you will find some Nepalese there. They have already joined the Chinese army, PLA. So the things are already happening. If it is not happening, it's a good situation. But there is always an option. This northern border was never so connected and so well established with China earlier. Now it is taking them right up to the hinterland, to the eastern flank of China, directly in just about 36 or 48 hours. So that connectivity, which was a problem earlier, is no longer there. So quick response to your thing is that there are no answers. So if Agniveer is not working out, give them an opening to come and join the CAPF, the CRPF, the BSF. They can serve till 57, 58. Carry out that provision which was earlier existing in army, but for God's sake, maintain your connection with Nepal. You cannot afford to actually leave them in a lurch. If CAPF doesn't work out, you have industrial forces, you have disaster management battalions, give them some quota somewhere. Keep this percentage or whatever, 25 or 30,000 coming every year. Give them that quota, let them come in, because gradually the Gorkha regiment will close down. So this has got more to do with the neighborhood first policy, how to deal with Nepal. If you don't deal with and engage with Nepal, then Nepal is already started the process of disengaging with India. So that's a very, very dangerous thing. And there are groupings. We have BBIN grouping, we have BIMSTEC grouping. In different groupings, Nepal is figuring. Nepal is also there as a member of the SAARC, which is a failure. But are these groupings good enough to keep Nepal favorably lean towards India? The answer is no. So there are multiple aspects which it is to be a kind of a holistic 360-degree comprehensive approach applied to Nepal to make it as thriving and throbbing as it was in earlier days, say 50s and 60s, and go back to the traditional historic bonhomie that we used to enjoy. Only then perhaps maybe, because it's already too late. China has penetrated for past 25, 30 years in a significant manner. So I leave it to the decision makers what they choose. I have no quick ready-made answer for the Agniveer except for what I have suggested. If not army, CAPF, if not CAPF, disaster management force, if not disaster management force, some industrial force. But for God's sake, give them employment opportunity, make them dependent on your system.
Thank you, sir. And my take on this issue is that if you look at the history of Gurkhas in the Indian Army, they have served everywhere without any doubt. They did the job, be it operations, be it 1948 operations, be it 62, 65, 71, counterinsurgency, everywhere. And till date, their records have been excellent. If you look at the awards wise, all the 43 battalions, including the RR, they are doing a wonderful job. And most of the Gurkha troops in the Indian Army are Nepalese percentage wise, and they are doing a better work. And around 95% of the Subdar majors of the Gurkha units in Indian Army are from Nepal. That also aspect needs to be seen. We have had officers from Nepal, Lieutenant Shakti Gurung and others were there. They belong to Nepal. They are part of our additional, they were MO directed, other important issues. So that needs to be seen. With that, sir, we'll come to the questions. There are, Mr. Akash Krishnan had asked 2-3 questions, which I'll club them. And I'll ask Brigadier Bainsla to cover up that. It is the, along with what Nepal has his own army, will they be able to uh, tackle the Chinese coming encroachment, and does it stand a chance against the Chinese advances militarily, if any, into the Nepal? And these 2 questions are there, which I'll request Brigadier Bainsla to quickly cover up. The third question is there, which I'll request later on General Sudhakar Jee. He says that Mr. Akash Krishna asked that from monarchy to democracy, and subsequently something like a communist Russian routlet. So that views with I'll ask General Sudhakar Jee to take over later on. Over to you, Brigadier Bainsla. Quickly, can you please do that? We are running short of time.
Undoubtedly, the Nepalese army is a very a small force, and mostly it is being has been trained by the Indian military bases there. Also, the equipment is very primary with them. So therefore, standing against the Chinese, of course, it's a given that that cannot happen. But nobody has actually thought of it or talked about this kind of a scenario. If it happens, and if you are kind of hinting that whenever if it happens, whether they'll come for assistance to India, that kind of a scenario may roll out. Of course, India will be there, but that kind of a situation, Nepal or India, nobody would like to see that kind of a situation happening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Brigadier Bainsla. The question now to General Sudhakar Ji is that Nepal from monarchy went to became democratic, then communist, and what is their way forward? Things what's happening, sir. Over to you, sir.
You have time or time here? Okay. Give me 2 minutes for this and 2 minutes for the earlier question.
Roger, sir.
Firstly, the earlier question. We need to understand that world over, the sizes of the armed forces are being reduced. World over. Same China we are talking of. In 1949, around 1949, it is to have 4.9 million troops. And China today has got 2 million. They're planning to further prune it down to 1.5 million by 2030, maybe 2035. Talk about Britain, talk about France, talk about Germany, all the countries in the Europe, they're pruning down. Why are they pruning down? We are heading towards a technologically dominant or dominated armed forces based on surveillance, response metrics, standoff, precision targeting, like the way we did in Sindoor, Operation Sindoor. So that your liability towards, it's a cost benefit analysis, the capital expenditure and the revenue. is balanced out, not like the way the India is landed up with. So that by no means does answer your question, the first one. But effectively, what is happening is the 20th century was predominated by geopolitics world over. Gradually, the geopolitics has started gravitating towards geoeconomics. China today is planning to win a war without fighting one. How do you do that? You do that by geoeconomics. It is focused for consistently and persistently for preceding 30, 40 years on economy. It's a different issue. Its economy is not picked up. It has gone into a slum. I have my own personal assessment and research based on the research. It is being done by design, but there will be no takers when I say this. They all will do China bashing. The China's single most biggest challenge in China today is inequality, because of which there is social unrest and turbulence. So it's a different topic. So China basically wants to win a war without fighting one. So 1970s, almost more than 77% of dominance in the economy in the world used to be dominated by the transatlantic power, that is USA, Canada, and the Western Europe. Today, China has got trade with more than 120, 130 countries. Majority of them are trade surplus in favor of China. It has got a trade surplus of almost about 1 trillion plus as of today. That's why the BRI is what? BRI is actually a manifestation of unused dollars, trade surplus. So therefore, to answer that first question is, it's okay, militarily you are right. No country is ever ready to fight another war. There are a lot of counter arguments. China has got 85 combat brigades, what do you call composite armored brigade. Out of 85, almost 75% are biased towards the eastern flank. It's remaining 20-25% are towards the western theater. Is that enough? Is China going to attack Nepal, or is it going to attack India? In my view, no. It may have one little skirmish here and there, like Doklam, like Galwan, etc., etc. What is the primary outlook, the objective of China? The primary objective of China are 3 or 4-fold. One, to have secure, access of warm water in the Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. Number 2, carry out survey and harness or mine the rare earth element. The future of the global order is going to be driven by technology. Technology, the center of gravity of technology will be rare earth element. Complete Nepal border is covered. It is full of very rare variety of rare earth elements. You have uranium, thorium, cobalt, you have zinc, you have gold, copper, name anything. You have gas. So the third thing that China is looking for is water. Do you know one of the principal factors of India engaging with Nepal is to generate hydropower? Our investment with hydropower in Nepal has gone up in past 10 years from, I don't remember the specific figures, some single digit megawatt to double digit, now to triple digit. We are buying power from Nepal today. China is starving for water. China wants water. It wants to carry out like the way it is done south to north, changing of water direction from Brahmaputra and towards the north. And last thing that I am talking of is the expansionism theory. Expansionism. China will continue to keep its neighbor under pressure by this salami slicing and incremental capture of the ground. So these are the factors which will happen. Therefore, to say 5 divisions of Nepal, is it enough? Well, it is not enough. But out of 85 combat brigades that it has got, or the composite armored brigades, will it apply all the 85 against Nepal? No. It has got 3,488 kilometers. So what happens? Indirectly, you are asking a question, will India come to rescue of Nepal if push comes to shove? I think The circumstances will compel India. If it doesn't do, then they will be knocking on the door of the southern border with India. That is one part. Second part is talking about communism, the Russian roulette. Yes, overall, if you see globally, there is a contestation taking place between democratic forces and the communist forces. There is a third force which has come in to rival against these two. The third force is the Islamic. That is what the ISIS is saying, global caliphate. At places you find there is an intersection. There is a cross section. Either they are not merging, they are intersecting with each other. They're clashing against each other. At places you see they are converging. For example, in a place like Myanmar, it gives me a sense and feeling in Bangladesh that all the three forces are converging there, as if they're ganging up against India. So the bigger issue what is happening is, while democratic forces, I think during Biden time, 110 democratic countries, they had been taken on video conference. There was some kind of a initiative by USA. There is a strategic studies which has been carried out. Gradually, the Islamic forces are expanding in such a big percentage that by 2075, as against today, we have sorry, I don't want to touch upon the religion, but then your answer willy-nilly is going on to that. You have Christianity at a percentage of 32%. Muslim or the Islam is around 24%. Hinduism is around 15%. By the year 2075, the Islamism would have gone up to a percentage of 75. Christianity would have stayed somewhere in between. That is the kind of threat being envisaged, and that is to contest those kind of challenges, unspoken and spoken challenges. A lot of effort is going on how to expand the sphere of democratic right and the rules-based international order in the global dynamics today. That is why you have things like, Indo-Pacific, you have things like Quad, you have, it's unfortunate that Donald Trump has gone berserk, disregarding all these finer aspects of the larger aim and objective. But your question, Mootly, is actually, pointing towards what is happening. Is Nepal going to fall in the ambit of the communism? Well, I can't say. I have no quick answer. For that, all parties who are primary stakeholders or non-primary stakeholders, like-minded countries of democratic value and system, they have to get together and take up these common challenges together, upfront. Only then you can actually contain, counter, and contest. That's it.
Thank you, sir. And today has been a very, very robust and a fruitful discussion on our neighborhood, very importantly Nepal, geographically and between us and impact of the other countries on Nepal. One aspect which probably Gen Sudhakar Jee was mentioning cursorily was the demographic change in Nepal. That is also taking place. And probably that also converges to what the thought process have been there with the communism. In 1961, there was only one masjid in Nepal, and today there are thousands of masjids have come up all along the Terai region, that is Indo-Nepal border. That needs to be considered. And we have the discussion have brought out certain issues which are related to our relationship with Nepal to develop further in terms of cultural, more so economical, militarily, Agniveer, and aspects which are important is that we must continue doing that. And maybe we should, as a country, India should be able to look after the needs of Nepal rather than ignoring them. One thing which was during my visit was discussed. I would like to share that, and that was, I think, a very, very, candid view was given by one of the person. He said the attitude have been arrogant of the people who are there from Indian side in Nepal. So that was one issue which they said it has been there. Though I had also seen sometimes it was there, at not from the military point of view, but from the other than military which were there. So that needs to be seen. And Thanks a lot, Jan Sudhakar Ji and Brigadier Bainsla, for the fruitful discussion and giving inputs. And next time, next Saturday, we meet, we'll discuss the topic. Thank you, Yuvraj, for the support from the back. All the best. Thank you, sir. Jai Hind.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Jai Hind.